Okay, so postsynaptically, there are a number of targets, right? Synaptic, postsynaptic receptor targets for acetylcholine, and these include both metabotropic and also ionotropic receptor targets. So there are G protein coupled receptor targets for acetylcholine, and also ionotropic targets. So ligand gated channel targets. And a lot of the ionotropic targets for acetylcholine are actually located presynaptically. They're located on the presynaptic neuron. So if it's a cholinergic neuron that's actually releasing acetylcholine, that would be an autoreceptor, right? Because it's binding the same neurotransmitter that it's releasing. But actually, a lot of other neurons that release different primary neurotransmitters, like dopaminergic neurons, like serotonergic neurons, noradrenergic neurons, also express presynaptic, ionotropic receptors for acetylcholine. So these are what we call heteroreceptors, right? That are on the presynaptic terminal, but they're binding a neurotransmitter that's not released by that neuron, but a different neurotransmitter that's being released by a cholinergic neuron, nearby. We're going to see nicotine is a drug that can also, act upon, a lot of these autoreceptors and heteroreceptors that are presynaptically localized, and have significant impact and effect. So the metabotropic receptors are actually referred to as muscarinic receptors because there's a chemical called muscarin that will act as an agonist selectively on just the metabotropic, just the G protein coupled subset of cholinergic receptors. So muscarine is a chemical that will act just like an agonist and release the G protein from the metabotropic receptors for acetylcholine, but does not have any impact whatsoever on the ionotropic class of acetylcholine receptor. Remember, acetylcholine is the neurotransmitter that'll act at all of its receptors. It'll act at all the metabotropic and all the ionotropic receptors. It'll operate them all. But muscarine is selective. It only activates the metabotropic receptors. So these are called metabotropic, muscarinic metabotropic acetylcholine or cholinergic receptors. Nicotine, which is a chemical that we'll be talking about in some detail, is selective as an agonist for the ionotropic cholinergic receptors. So these are called nicotinic cholinergic receptors, and there's a whole host of them. They're made up of various subunits. Again, many of them are localized presynaptically. Nicotinic cholinergic receptors are actually also, we're going to see, localized on muscle cells postsynaptically. So they're going to be, at what we call the neuromuscular junction, which we'll talk about in a minute. Basically, the cholinergic system is, a little complex, right? It has both muscarinic, metabotropic receptor targets and also nicotinic ionotropic